Hey Dlazzers!
Welcome back to our channel. It's a new week, it's a new episode. If you are new here, we are the four lady girls of Wine-ish, Vanessa Obageng, not Wine-ish, Buhle and Kumelo. And welcome to our channel, Yours and Wine.
Tonight we have award-winning author and marketing exec Khaya Dlanga. Tonight we'll obviously be tasting 4 wines, blind tasting 4 wines with him, and we'll be focusing on his latest book, It's the Answers for Me.
Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Well, to all our very loyal Dlazzers, thank you so much for being so loyal. And to our newbies, we hope you like it here. Please do not forget to like, comment and subscribe, you guys, and share far and wide.
How the blind tasting segment of this will work though is, as usual, we've got 4 wines today. No labels. He doesn't know anything about these wines, where they're from, what they're about, and he's going to have to use his senses to guess. And he's got 3 guesses to get it right. You know, and if he gets it right, yay. If he doesn't, we'll just help him out. You know how it goes. When you've got a book in one hand and a glass of wine in the other, you've got a perfect pairing.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
Let us get into this.
So we'll just give you an opportunity to taste first,
Get acquainted.
and guess some things. And
What
then
things
once
must I
you
get?
Some
Well,
things.
So what do you smell?
Okay,
You start with everything.
So you're guessing the grape essentially, but taking a smell, taking some taste, tell us what you're tasting, what you're smelling.
Liquid.
Sure.
Cool.
Perfect.
That's what
It's a really great start.
Great.
I can.
Yeah.
That's worse than great.
We just got lower.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Who
okay.
knew that rock bottom had it?
Tell
base. Tell
us.
us what you smell, what you taste. Let's break it down.
Dude, what I like about it is that it doesn't have, it's what I call like too much of an opinion. So it's not like not too much flavors.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, so it's kind of nice and easy, which
Okay.
I like. Is it a Blanc?
What?
Wow.
I thought you knew nothing.
Okay.
So
Okay. So this is where we start off. Okay. Dlazzers, so Khaya has guessed the first wine correctly. This is a Rousseau Wines Sacharia.
Such a real.
Such a real.
Sacharia, like if you're nasty. 2019 Sauvignon Blanc. It is made by our amazing guy that we love, Andre Rousseau. And it's a wooded Sauvignon Blanc. That's the interesting thing. So I'm interested in how you got that so spot on.
So it's wooded.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, so now that Kaya's guessed correctly, we can get into the first part of the interview, blind tasting actually. So Kaya, we're going to be asking you a few questions over our wine drinking today. And the first question is a question that we like to ask all of our guests who come to the wine house as blind tasting guests. And that is going to be interesting, but when did you fall in love with wine?
You know, the wine is really true. That's like a freaking acquired taste. I find that it's true what they say about wine, right? Like, it's not just, it's like the older I get, the more I like it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't even remember. I remember actually the first time I actually drank wine. I was a broke student. We were so broke. Like, I mean, a whole bunch of us. I think it was like 5 or friends of mine. And this is like in ancient history. You guys weren't born yet. So, and I think we only had like, I think 20 bucks each or 5. I don't remember, 10 bucks each. And we went to club together and buy a bottle of wine. 4 cousins.
Fine.
And
Yeah.
four cousins.
Standard.
And the thing is, like 4 cousins, you didn't drink to enjoy.
Can I get to
I was like, no one was like, oh my goodness, the notes. So there isn't like a really particular, I can't say I remember an exact moment in time when I began to enjoy it.
The second question pertains to the book, of course, and it's just something that we've been speaking about in the sense that I could almost say there's sort of like this tension, so to speak, around like our generation and the fact that we feel so much freedom to make anything out of anything, right? So we have careers out of YouTube, we're influencers, we change career paths every year if we want to. And that kind of got me thinking about your book as well, in reading it. In the sense that here we are, we've got a book that is made out of your interactions on Instagram. So having said that though, I think the book is equally reflective and sort of relevant, right? It's not one over the other, it's both. And how would you say, just based on that and just the difference of the book, how's the reception been?
It's been very, so for me the book it's a weird book, even by my own standards. Because I had such a massive debate with my publishing team. I was like, but is this even a book? Can we even turn it into a book? Does it make sense? And I really struggled with the whole idea of this being a book because one, I had people on social media asking me to turn the questions into a book, and then my publishing team also, mentioned the same thing, and I was like, maybe there is something in it. There's someone who said that they found it inspiring, and I don't understand how they found it inspiring, and she really enjoyed it, and she made a whole entire video about it. And then there are people who find it really, really funny because of people's responses. But for me, I actually find it, I think, more tragic than funny.
Yeah.
And so I find it particularly interesting that so many people think it's funny, but I really find that there's a lot of tragic, revelations about people's lives. Yeah. Maybe what makes it funny is that, because I think in the book I do mention that it demonstrates the tragedy and comedy that is life.
I don't know if we'll see what Khaya has to say, but this is my favorite.
This is none?
Favorite, yeah.
Okay, you got some aliens in it.
This one is tricky.
So
if you have anything to say,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but you lied in the beginning. But you wine, don't.
Tell us what.
One thing is for sure is that you won't guess it. Number one.
I'm struggling. I'm really struggling with it. I taste some pork.
And you're not. You see? I was trying to lead you. I was pushing you in the right direction.
Is it a shot? No.
But we understand
Fair
why
enough.
you
Yes.
said
It
that.
makes a lot of sense why you say.
Yeah.
It's a unique grape.
Yeah.
Okay. How unique when I say unique?
Very niche. You don't
Very
see it
niche,
everywhere.
yes.
Here's the other clue that I always use. So it's a French grape, and it sounds like Hanahan. And I've done my best now,
And
guys.
it's
It's
one-
a,
It's one word.
Huh.
It's one word.
Okay, I've got another clue.
oh, it's one word.
Yes.
I've got another clue that might add on.
Yeah.
And that you will usually, I think, in most people's experience, you would have had it blended with another white grape. It's usually a feature.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not always the main act.
Oh, you said it's one word. Then,
one word.
It's one word.
Hanahan.
One word, usually blended with another white grape. Very popular
Blend.
Blend.
Yeah.
I
And it's
can't.
French, man, and it's like you don't even it ends in something, but you don't pronounce the end of the word
Because it's French.
because
You already mentioned so I cannot think of the names of grapes.
You have to tap out.
Yeah.
Something good.
But Khaya out of his misery.
What is that little wine? Okay, inappropriate. Go on.
So this is a Steenberg 2019 Sauvignon.
I wouldn't have guessed it.
Okay.
I wouldn't have.
Stellar, beautiful. It's just, as I said, it's one of my true favorites.
But it's very, like, see, it's not one of those like.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
niche.
it's very niche.
So obviously when we get a book from you, it's always reflective of yourself and your own journey from start to where you're at now. So what made you kind of turn that reflection on its head and focus on an audience rather than yourself?
Well, that's interesting because I feel that although, you know, when I was asked to write my second book, which was to quote myself, I mean, it took a very long time for my publisher to convince me to write it because they'd seen an interview, and based on that interview, they said, "Oh my goodness, that's such a great story. Please write a book about your life." And I was like, well, I mean, I didn't cured cancer, and I was in prison for 27 years, so I really have nothing to say, and so it makes no sense that and it felt very like. I mean, like, I always feel that like, my books, even though I write about my story, is a story about millions of people.
Yes.
It's just that I had the platform to tell it. And I may be a vehicle for people to, where they relate and understand. This one for me, it was just that it was a pandemic. And I didn't have like a big reason to write it. It was just like, you know, people said, yo, we think you should turn this into a book, and so did the publisher. And I didn't make sense initially, and I just agreed. I mean, there's no, I don't really have, but it's the great thing about it though is that it's not about me. It's about, it's hundreds or thousands of stories by lots of different people.
Yeah. Just that it feels like we are speaking more than we've ever spoken before.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just say things. We want people to know and hear us. We want an outlet. And to me, that's unique, right? All these things have happened over time for years and years. Parents, grandparents, all goes into Sensei. But they were just rocking through it.
Yeah.
You know, and we have something like this. And that's why I'm sure people, no, actually you said this, where people are now waiting for you to ask the question and ready with what they want to say. Because it's just like, people need an outlet.
It's so true what you're saying.
Yo, my key takeout from this book was after COVID, fear men.
Ciao.
I said fear ladies, eh? I said even fear women.
But you know what is interesting?
I said ladies can
but some of the things that guys I just cannot believe that people live through the things they live through.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a movie. And you know, this is Hollywood, like I'm like, guys, it's like
is everything okay?
It's freaking real life days of my lives.
Yeah.
Give us the summary of what your takeaway after doing this whole thing felt like in that aspect.
Well, I mean, the one thing that I could see is like we live in an incredibly dummy society, and I suppose the only way we kind of deal with it all is maybe through humor, but we are very, very troubled. And I mean, I remember like years ago, many years ago, I dated somebody, and she would tell me the chaos that was going in the relationships of her friends. And I was like, I mean, the friends are younger, and I was like, you guys are in university, you are, and you know, they come from good families. So in my mind, I was like, you come from good families, you know, like, it's not like your parents were struggling, and you go into like good schools like Wits, UCT, and all of those things. So, and I had this idea that they must be a little bit more conscientious and a little bit more understanding of the world and the things that you should and should not do to other people. And so for me, that was that's always been the most shocking thing about how that young people are as chaotic as the older generation was.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the most surprising thing.
If not
worse. And I couldn't compute. It's very difficult for me to understand.
Yeah.
So I don't the one takeaway, if there is any, is good God, we are damaged. And that's it.
There's so much to say.
Yeah.
I've got something to say.
I've got so much to say, but we have to move on.
Let's move on.
The words for this are many.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Been looking at the color.
The one
The
actually.
fragrance.
Darubi red.
Darubi.
It's giving oud.
Yeah.
No man.
Are you gonna say what?
Like
I get
Georgia.
Jacobs. What
Like
is
in
it?
Georgia.
No, it's Tapo.
Dark.
Do you have any feelings whatsoever?
It's actually very like. I'm not gonna get this one,
Okay.
but
Tell us.
definitely not a mellow.
Okay.
Alright, okay.
Okay, okay. And Jazzy, okay?
Yeah.
Go on, carry on. Take
Oh, I go. Go tell me the confusion.
Can we tell you for 3 marks because
Yeah.
it's just gonna assist your journey. This is a blend.
Leo blend boteta ngayo angisho
Oh, it's a blend.
And it's a
Okay.
blend of 2 grapes.
Okay.
Just 2.
Just 2.
That's it now. Now you must run with it.
Rock. I suppose I would say.
Okay.
It's also a red wine.
By the way.
And now give us some grapes.
Okay, so there's a mellow.
I mean, because we let you, we took you on the journey.
That
We
is
let
so
you guidance on this journey.
But what I was going to say again is that I'm sure that because it would not make sense, right, to have a Shiraz in here,
Agreed.
and then no and the Shiraz, because it's just it, because otherwise it should just be like
I'm dead. I'll leave.
yes, it should never.
Okay. And we can give you a
So
clue.
broken.
We can give you a clue.
Give me a clue.
This grape is of Argentinian.
Santa Maria.
Yeah. Arriba, Argentina.
It's like one of my favorite wines of all time is from Argentina.
So you
Cool.
must know what this is.
And
But
it's a red.
It's a red, and
And
I've
what
only
is
ever
it?
had it once.
What?
So how do you know it's
I
your
had
favorite
this
of all
one.
time?
How have you decided to
Because no, it was so incredible.
Oh.
Well, you said it's Argentinian.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
It's an Argentinian red.
Grape.
Or grape. Yeah.
I don't. I'm not familiar with Argentina.
When they say in Afrikaans, hold your mouth.
Oh, yo.
Mont.
But
No.
almost.
What
No,
is it?
E.
It's
Oh,
actually,
you're big.
it's
Oh,
actually
it's
saying
really-
shut up, not
Oh,
you're
big.
cards.
Like that.
I don't
That's
know.
what
Now
I said.
you're big.
I get
Now let's move on.
So this is a Hartenberg Merlot Malbec
See, I.
blend.
I
It is.
Doorkeeper.
and
Yes, I'm not together. It is part of the Doorkeeper range, and it is a 2019 vintage.
Okay. Do they break down how much?
So generally, if Merlot comes first, that
Yeah.
means that's the leading grape
Yeah.
in the blend.
Interesting.
This pertains specifically to part 2 of the book, and it is.
Oh, I forget about that too.
Yeah, it happened. It actually happened.
Yeah.
And so it's near the beginning where someone asks you about creative block. And so it's not so much a creative block kind of question, but more just your philosophy behind having bad ideas so that you can have good ideas. And so I think my question is, how do you get over having a bad idea to have a good idea? Because so many
imposter
things go
syndrome.
wrong.
almost.
Yeah, pretty much imposter syndrome.
Okay. I think that you have to have a lot of. I always find that people who are very defensive about their ideas don't think they can have other ideas. And that's what really causes you to end up only having bad ideas. Because you're so intent on defending
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the last idea I'm ever gonna have. But I think you should have the confidence in yourself that, okay, if you think it's a bad idea, I'll show that I have other great ones. And you have to keep chipping in and going and going and going. And I would watch, canned reels. So canned reels are like this, for the sake of if people are watching and they're not familiar with what that is. The canned reel, it's the Oscars of advertising. And what they do then and they will show every single ad that wanted bronze or silver, gold, and Grand Prix. And then I would watch these, like I'd watch over and over again. I'd watch another one, put it in, and then watch and watch. And what by me observing great ideas, okay, I got to understand the patterns of creating great ideas.
Wow.
Michael Jackson said something pretty incredible where he said, someone says to him, what would you say to someone who's trying to get into the music industry today? And he said, study the greats. Oh, believe in yourself. Study the greats. Dissect. Be a scientist. Become greater. And so, if you don't look like if you are a creative, whatever kind of creative you are, if you want to write and you don't read, how are you going to write? How will you know what is good? I think as a creative, you've got to look at what is considered to be amazing and great. Otherwise, I think a lot of people don't pay attention to, by observing and watching it all the time, your mind will pick up patterns of what makes great things without you even being very conscious of what's happening, because you're like indoctrinating your mind and yourself. And usually I found that the best creatives for me were always trying to listen why you thought that one was a bad idea. And they're like, oh, okay, because I know that I can come up with other ideas. And those creatives are the ones who won loads of awards. Sure. Makes great creative though is not just that personal aspect. What makes it great is the universality of an idea. So if someone can you have an idea here in Bryanston, someone says the same thing in China and they don't speak English, but it's something and they get it. For me, that is what makes a great idea. It's not that, and even if it seems like it's in your mind, it's something that just is relevant to us, but the universality of it is what makes it great. And you know, like my first can gold. That one was in my mind. It was such a South African idea. It was so South African, but for some reason there was a universality, you know, because I was shocked. Like when I was told that, it was like, what? I don't understand how this could win like a can gold, because it's such a very uniquely South African idea. But actually, it's because people just understood the idea and it resonated somehow.
Wow. What do you smell, taste, feel?
Santa Maria.
Not
And
you.
let's set up a real.
Not you.
It's actually facing away online. It's bodying me.
Not Santa Maria. It was great. So all our Dlazzers know that we
So
struggle
all
with
shook.
this. But
we're
this-
trying.
This
That's
is
how Matt and I like.
This is turning out really good.
No, it really
This
is.
is turning out good.
It really
It's not
is.
fair.
And we have to say it on a public platform as well.
And I think it's presenting even the worst about this grape in the best way.
And the
I
brand.
know exactly what you're saying.
And
It's a South African grape.
Yes.
That's South African.
That's a nice.
That's a brilliant
nice
thing to
grape.
say. Like that's it now. We've
Yeah.
got that.
Guys, I don't know
Everything.
what South African grapes are.
There's only one, and this is it.
It's giving me spread on the
So-
great
A
heart.
pearly. In the spirit
Rugby.
of a great heart. In Victor.
Springbok.
Like, come on. Where you at?
What are the other words?
It has.
It's
No,
on
I mean the name.
It has Hermitage. Sorry, I'm already telling you
Yeah,
so
you
much. Hermitage and
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir in it.
And put it together and you're copywriter, so that's it.
Yes,
This is South
that's
African
great.
grape. You are not a patriot if you don't know this information.
And you're also not a copywriter, so we're actually gonna out you.
You
So-
said what? It's a
Hermitage.
Hermitage.
Pinot Noir.
Noir.
Do something. Do something.
Come
Put
on.
something together for
Put
us.
the
Pinot
And it's
Noir.
one grape.
I didn't know that was South African.
I mean, there are a lot
Same
of
story.
there are a lot of answers and a lot of things that do come up in the book, right? That are quite intense and quite triggering for people and quite heavy. As a person reading, like you said, you did have to like skip over them and you had to put your phone down. But did this, like, what was your coping mechanism to get through this? Like, did you have to seek therapy? You know, what was your outlet to basically like deal with this? Did you feel like you had to help people beyond this? You know, what was your process? Basically?
Very, very good question, because I think for me this entire process was therapy for me, because I just lost my brother and COVID had just started. So I lost my brother. Then so we bury my brother on Saturday, and then I know that the president makes an announcement saying that there will be an announcement on Sunday, and then I think, let me fly from East London and fly to Cape Town in case he locks down the country, so that I'm not stuck in Moond. I was like, I can't be stuck in Moond.
Yes, yeah.
So I go and I get there Sunday, and then the president makes the announcement, and it says Thursday, hard lockdown. This is the first time, and then he says, and then it's for however many days. I think it was 2 weeks.
26.
And I'm like, yes. On the 16th, the country's opening, and it's my birthday. 16th of April. I'm like, yes! 16th of April on my birthday. Yo! I was dreaming. I was dreaming. The joke was on me. So, and I think because I was alone, and his presence was always there because he lived with me. So I knew exactly what he'd be sitting, watching TV, and the kinds of comments he'd be making. So in a weird way, and I think for me, asking these questions was my therapy.
Sure.
And to stop focusing on myself and whatever it is that I'm going through. But what is very interesting though is, I forget what question I asked or asked me anything, whatever. But it was just, maybe a month or so after my brother passed away. And then people were asking like, oh, how are you coping? How are you doing? And it was
it was definitely, you asked me.
And I was a bit like, oh, it was not something I kind of expected. But, it also made me quite, reflective, because they would ask me very specific questions about, the fact that I lost my brother. And in many ways that helped me say things, to them as well. And there was a chapter that there's a book called The Lockdown something, I forgot what it's called. I was asked to contribute a chapter in that book. But it was about the Lockdown Chronicles, that's what it was. I sort of was saying, I have my, so I woke up this morning and I was walking around, too much information, walking around naked, and then I get to the kitchen and I am frying an egg, right? Terrible idea. And then I'm like, ah! And then I kind of, like things splash. I was like, And so I'm writing about this experience, and then I'm like, oh, God damn it, Nganga, if you were here, that's my brother's name, I wouldn't walk around naked, and this thing wouldn't burn me. You know what I'm saying? This thing
Damn you for not being around.
Damn you for not being around. So, and that's very interesting because, people said that like how I opened that, this is very funny, and then just like,
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I also think that was my own experience about what was going through the entire time, because sometimes I'd be fun, and then like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like simple things like switching on my Netflix, because when I switch on Netflix, there's me, the main account holder, and then his name.
Yeah.
So whenever I switch on Netflix, his name is there. You know what I'm saying? So you can't forget it. And I think for me, that's what was really helping. At the same time, I was also seeing a grief counselor. So I think number one, I was asking these people questions, and people saying the things they were saying to me, so that I don't focus on just myself, woe me, and I live alone. And it was I'll never forget. I think it was 2 months or 3 months, and I remember at some points oh my God, I haven't touched another human being in 3 months.
You say that.
It's in the book.
I could not believe the number of people sending messages, DMs, and all of that saying that, thank you so much for talking about this.
Sure.
And they will and like some of the deepest things, and because they're saying that at least I'm glad you're unpacking something that like a lot of us are going through, but no one is ever because and the sense of shame that comes with suicide, right? And not only because of what happened to the person, but because it happened in your family. Because it's not something that happens, it's like it's always something that happens to them, to other people, but it's never to you.
Absolutely.
So now all of a sudden, I mean, like, I really look at myself as like this very strong-minded person, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like, I get back up from things pretty quickly, from setbacks. And when this happened, it just, it kind of threw me off completely in ways I could never possibly imagine. And that's it, because he lived with me, and when I was going through his issue, which I've mentioned, he had a gambling problem, and the gambling problem was obviously a symptom of depression,
Of course.
and sort of a symptom of something. And recently, maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, I was watching a TikTok, and what, I kind of like, okay, I can understand now. And this person basically said the number one addiction that leads to suicide is actually gambling.
Wow.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they're like, there's that more than any other form of addiction, that is the one. More than drug addiction, more than anything else, that is the one. And I was a bit like, and a part of me was like, okay, maybe I did all I could have. And there was nothing, but like, logically, there are things that right? But then emotionally, there are things that you cannot reconcile, right? And so, and I always felt that like what I needed is, I needed to get to a point where, let me reconcile. I need to get like what I feel emotionally and what I know logically have to align. But they hardly ever align. They hardly, but I think over time they kind of. And so, and I think because I was going through something significantly deeper and very personal, these were not as heavy in some ways.
You had mentioned, and I'll paraphrase, that it almost felt like you kind of tripped and fell off your bike, or you grazed your knee and you have this wound, but you have to limp, and people can't see that you're limping because you need to like be strong and stand up and be your regular self. So and obviously eventually it heals and it becomes a scar. So where are you at in terms of sort of that healing process?
Very interesting. Saturday, I was at lunch, and I walk into this restaurant, I sit down, and this guy, and this is the second time this has happened, and I sit down, and this guy's like, oh my goodness, he looks like my brother. You know what I'm saying? It's like, jeez. So it kind of like,
That's insane.
you know what I'm saying?
Because that's going to happen, right?
Yes, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
like that.
And I'm like, oh my. So what happens is that you never know when a triggering moment. You're like cool in a day, like, okay, you're like, she's charming somebody, and then boom, someone there. You're like, oh damn.
Anything, right?
And then you're like, okay, geez, this was strange. But then you have to kind of quickly
Bring yourself together.
Like order from
and like, okay, moving. And so it's so I think that I think there is never a point you are at. So you could think you are here, and then you find yourself there, and then you find. So there isn't one specific spot you ever at. But what happens, like as I mentioned, is that you get used to living with it.
That's crazy. But on that note, our last wine is the Barista Blanc. Okay, 2019, and it is a Pinotage. But very nice. Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Not the
we're
way
Glasses,
you
you know. You
We're
know.
rating
I was just trying to say, okay, give it a try.
Not in that,
Really,
guys.
Zach?
This has been a really, really informative and wow.
Touching, yeah.
Very touching
Yeah.
episode. I feel very personally I feel very slogolosa emotionally when to go up but to go away. Thank you so much, Khaya, for giving us your time, a lot of your time, and giving up some supper time to come and for your wisdom.
Yeah.
So today we'd like to leave you guys
Drink
some
more.
wine.
Just some wine.
Drink more
We're
wine.
not leaving you with the
Guys.
lies.
That's all we've got.
All we've got is some wine.
Bye. It's the answers for me right now.
Get involved. It'll make you
Buy it
think.
right now. Also, Telang more wine.
Because-
Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe. Tell us
Also,
more
love you
about
guys.
Bye.
Love you guys.